Let's be honest, marriage isn't what it used to be. Too many women today are stepping into the role of a wife but failing at it, not because they're incapable, not because they don't care, but because we've stopped holding ourselves to the standard of what it actually means to be a partner. We're distracted, we're misled, and we're confusing independence with neglect. If you want to succeed as a wife, it's time to stop pointing fingers and start looking in the mirror, because the truth is, being a wife isn't just about the title, it's about the work, the presence, and the commitment you bring every single day. When you look at relationships today, one of the biggest reasons they fall apart is because too many people, especially women, confuse independence with partnership. Independence is a beautiful thing. It means you can stand on your own 2 feet, make your own money, and carve out a life that doesn't rely on someone else. That is power, and it should never be diminished. But here's the trap. When you carry that independence into a marriage as if it's a weapon, as if it's something you have to prove every single day, you destroy the very foundation of what a partnership is supposed to be. A marriage isn't about proving you don't need the other person. It's about building something together, side by side. Independence is about knowing who you are, but partnership is about being willing to share who you are. So many women today are told to never depend on anyone, never trust a man fully, never let go of control. And while that advice might sound empowering on the surface, what it often creates is division in the home. Instead of leaning into the relationship, instead of allowing themselves to soften and receive support, many women put up walls and barriers. They turn every decision into a power struggle. They mistake vulnerability for weakness. They confuse asking for help with losing control. But the truth is, in a healthy marriage, interdependence is not weakness. It's strength. When you allow your partner to step in, when you allow yourself to step back sometimes, you create balance. You create space for each other to thrive. That doesn't erase your independence. It deepens your connection. Partnership means you are no longer living only for yourself. It means your choices affect another human being, and you respect that. But in today's culture, independence is often elevated to the point where partnership feels like a compromise of self. That is the lie so many have bought into. It's not a compromise, it's a collaboration. It's 2 strong individuals who come together and choose to share the weight of life. And if one person insists on carrying it all alone because they think relying on their partner makes them less, then the relationship will eventually collapse under the strain. Think about it this way: a team doesn't succeed if every player is trying to prove they don't need the others. The strength of the team comes from working in sync, from leveraging each other's skills and strengths, from knowing when to lead and when to follow. Marriage is no different. A woman who enters marriage with the mindset that she has to constantly protect her independence at all costs is not really joining a team. She is guarding herself instead of giving herself, and that creates distance. Independence should be the foundation you stand on before marriage, not the barrier you put up inside of it. True strength in marriage is not about doing everything alone. It's about being brave enough to open yourself to the possibility of disappointment and still choosing to trust. It's about knowing you could survive without your partner, but still choosing to let them in because you want to build something bigger than yourself. That's the difference between independence and partnership. One says, "I don't need you." The other says, "I choose you every single day, even though I could walk away." And that choice, that daily act of choosing, is where marriage finds its meaning. Respect and accountability go hand in hand, and without them, a marriage cannot survive. Too many people walk into relationships with expectations of what they deserve, but they never stop to ask themselves what they are giving in return. Respect is not just a word you say when you feel like it, it's a daily practice. It shows up in how you speak to your partner, how you listen when they share something important, and how you handle conflict when you're angry. The tone of your voice, the words you choose, and the effort you put into seeing things from your partner's perspective all reveal whether you truly respect them or not. When respect disappears, love soon follows, because no one can thrive in an environment where they feel belittled, dismissed, or taken for granted. Accountability is just as critical, yet it is often the piece that gets ignored. It's easy to point fingers at your partner when things go wrong, but how often do you stop to reflect on your own actions? Accountability means owning the part you play in the dynamic of your marriage. It means saying, "I was wrong," or "I could have handled that better," without letting your pride get in the way. The strongest relationships are built by two people who are willing to admit when they fall short and make the effort to grow from it. Without accountability, resentment builds because one person ends up carrying the weight of blame while the other refuses to take responsibility. That imbalance slowly erodes the trust that holds a marriage together. Respect and accountability are also about consistency. It's not enough to show respect when things are going smoothly and then lash out when you're under stress. It's not enough to take responsibility occasionally but dodge it when the situation feels uncomfortable. A partner who can't rely on you to show respect every day, in both the small moments and the big ones, won't feel safe with you. And safety, emotional safety, is the core of intimacy. If your partner has to walk on eggshells or constantly wonder whether you'll belittle them in private or embarrass them in public, then respect is missing. If you always find a way to shift the blame onto them when things go wrong, then accountability is missing. Either way, the relationship suffers. Another dimension to respect is how you treat your partner when they're not in the room. Do you speak about them with admiration, or do you tear them down behind their back? Do you protect their reputation, or do you allow others to mock or criticize them while you remain silent? Respect is about loyalty. It's choosing to honor your partner even when they're not around to see it. And accountability ties into that, because if you betray their trust or fail to uphold your promises, owning it immediately is the only way to rebuild that respect. Trust and respect are fragile. Once broken, they take a long time to repair, and without accountability, the repair never happens. The truth is, love alone isn't enough to make a marriage last. You can love someone deeply, but still destroy the relationship if you don't respect them or take accountability for your actions. Respect creates the environment where love can grow, and accountability keeps that environment healthy. Without both, what's left is a partnership filled with tension, blame, and bitterness. When two people are committed to respecting each other and holding themselves accountable, they create a foundation strong enough to weather any storm. They give each other dignity, they create trust, and they prove through their actions, not just their words, that they value the bond they've chosen to build. Love is one of the most misunderstood words in marriage because too many people think of it only as a feeling. Feelings come and go, they rise and fall with circumstances, and they shift depending on how someone treats you in the moment. If love is only a feeling, then it will fade the second life gets difficult. That is why real love is not just emotion, it is action. It is the daily choices you make to show up, to invest in the relationship, and to prioritize your partner even when it's inconvenient. Love that lasts is not about butterflies in the stomach or constant passion. It's about consistent effort even when you don't feel like it. When you understand love as action, it changes everything about how you approach marriage. You stop waiting for your partner to make, you feel loved, and you take responsibility for demonstrating it yourself. That means showing kindness in the middle of conflict instead of lashing out. It means remembering the small details that matter to your partner and acting on them, whether it's a thoughtful gesture, a word of encouragement, or simply being fully present. Love in action is about sacrifice, not the kind that diminishes you, but the kind that strengthens the bond between you. It's giving up comfort or convenience to support your partner when they need it most and doing so without keeping score. Too often, people measure the success of their marriage by how often they feel in love, and when that feeling weakens, they assume something is wrong. But the truth is, every relationship goes through seasons where emotions fluctuate. If you only rely on feelings, you'll be tempted to pull away when the excitement wears off or when conflict arises. Action, on the other hand, is steady. It is not swayed by mood or circumstances. Choosing to love through action means you still speak respectfully even when you're angry. You still invest in time together even when life is busy. You still care for your partner's needs even when you're tired. Those consistent choices build trust and security, which in turn reignite the emotional side of love. Think about how many marriages fail because one or both partners stopped putting in the work. At the beginning, everything feels effortless. You go out of your way to impress each other. You make time, you listen, you plan, you dream. But over time, complacency creeps in, and the actions that once came naturally start to disappear. That's when resentment grows. Love dies not because people stop feeling it, but because they stop practicing it. A successful marriage is one where both partners commit to the actions of love no matter how much time has passed. There's also a deeper level of action that love requires: accountability to yourself. Loving someone means being willing to grow into the best version of yourself, because the healthier you are, the stronger the relationship becomes. That means taking care of your own well-being so you can show up fully. It means addressing your flaws, your temper, your pride, or your habits that cause harm, not because your partner demands it, but because your love for them compels you to be better. Love in action is never passive, it's proactive. Ultimately, action is what keeps the flame alive long after the initial spark fades. Passion may ebb and flow, but commitment through action sustains the bond. Every time you choose patience over frustration, every time you make the effort to connect instead of withdrawing, every time you give without expecting something back, you are practicing love in its purest form. That is the kind of love that doesn't just survive, it grows stronger with time. Marriage today struggles not because people don't love each other, but because too many partners are physically present while being mentally and emotionally absent. Presence is one of the most underrated yet most critical components of a healthy relationship. Being in the same room as your spouse is not the same thing as being truly present with them. Presence means giving your full attention, engaging with what they are saying, noticing how they are feeling, and responding in a way that shows you actually care. When presence is missing, the relationship starts to feel like a hollow shell where two people live side by side but never really connect. The distractions of modern life make presence harder than ever. Phones, social media, work pressures, and endless to-do lists all compete for attention. It becomes easy to nod along while scrolling, to say huh, while your partner is speaking, to convince yourself you're spending time together when in reality you're both absorbed in your own world. This constant lack of presence makes a partner feel unseen and unheard, which over time builds resentment. Humans crave connection, and if someone doesn't feel it at home, they will look for it elsewhere, through friendships, through work, or in the worst cases, through another relationship. The absence of presence creates emotional distance that no amount of material support or occasional grand gestures can fix. Presence is not only about communication, but about energy. When you walk into a room, your partner can sense whether you are truly with them or whether your mind is somewhere else. They know if you're genuinely listening or just waiting for your turn to speak. They know if your attention is on them or on the dozens of things swirling in your head. Being present means learning to put the outside world on pause and giving your partner the gift of focus. That doesn't mean you have to spend every waking moment together, but it does mean that the time you do spend must be intentional and undivided. Quality outweighs quantity, and even small windows of full presence can strengthen a marriage far more than hours of distracted coexistence. Many people underestimate the damage caused by neglecting presence. They believe their partner should simply understand that they are busy, tired, or stressed, and they justify disengagement as temporary. But over time, this neglect communicates a powerful and painful message: you're not a priority. Love cannot survive long when one person feels invisible. Presence is how you show your partner they matter, not just in words but in action. Looking someone in the eyes when they speak, turning off your phone during dinner, asking thoughtful questions, or showing up at important moments in their life are all ways of proving that they hold a place of importance. Presence also means being emotionally available, not just physically there. Some people believe that providing financially or handling responsibilities is enough to sustain a marriage, but without emotional presence, the relationship becomes purely transactional. Emotional presence is about empathy, understanding, and vulnerability. It's being willing to share your fears, your dreams, and your struggles, and making space for your partner to do the same. When both partners bring this level of presence, trust deepens, intimacy grows, and the marriage becomes a true partnership instead of a business arrangement. The reality is, presence requires effort and discipline. It means resisting the urge to check your notifications, to let your thoughts drift, or to treat your spouse as background noise. It means recognizing that the person in front of you deserves more than leftover scraps of your time and attention. A strong marriage is not built on grand gestures, but on the daily choice to be present. That presence communicates love more powerfully than any words can because it says, "I see you, I hear you, and you matter to me." Success is often measured by career milestones, financial achievements, or recognition from the outside world, but true balance in life requires understanding that success at home is just as important as success outside. Many people pour their energy into building businesses, climbing ladders, or chasing dreams, yet they neglect the very relationships that give meaning to those accomplishments. At the end of the day, titles and trophies won't hold you when you're weary, money won't comfort you when you're lonely, and achievements won't provide the emotional support that only a healthy home can give. A marriage that thrives provides stability, companionship, and a sense of purpose that no career can replace, which is why prioritizing success in the home is vital. The modern mindset often skews priorities. Work comes first, deadlines take precedence, and marriage becomes something that gets whatever energy is left over. This imbalance erodes the foundation of the relationship because love cannot grow in scraps of time. When success is pursued outside at the expense of what happens inside the home, the very support system that enables that external success starts to collapse. The irony is that many people push harder in their careers for the sake of their family, but in the process, they neglect the family itself. That neglect often leads to broken trust, emotional distance, or resentment, leaving a person with financial security but relational bankruptcy. Success at home requires the same dedication, planning, and discipline as success outside. Just as you would prepare for a big meeting or dedicate hours to honing a skill, you must be intentional about investing in your partner and your marriage. It means creating rituals of connection, carving out time for each other, and not treating the relationship as something that can run on autopilot. Home success is not built overnight, but through consistent choices, choosing to communicate, choosing to forgive, choosing to show affection, choosing to make your partner feel valued. Those choices accumulate into a marriage that is strong enough to endure stress, challenges, and even seasons of external failure. There is also a deeper truth. External success feels hollow if you have no one meaningful to share it with. Achievements are amplified when they are celebrated at home, when your partner cheers you on, and when you know your victories matter to someone who truly sees you. On the flip side, failure outside feels less crushing when you come home to a partner who supports you unconditionally. That is the balance of life. What happens at home determines how well you can handle what happens in the world. Without stability in the home, every success outside feels fragile. Unfortunately, too many people assume their marriage will simply sustain itself while they focus elsewhere, but relationships don't thrive on neglect. They require the same vision and clarity you apply to business or personal goals. Just as you wouldn't expect a career to flourish without effort, you can't expect a marriage to thrive without intentional investment. Success at home is not about perfection, it's about effort, consistency, and genuine care. It's about recognizing that the bond you build with your spouse will outlast any fleeting achievement in the outside world. When you succeed at home, you create a foundation of love, trust, and stability that fuels every other area of life. You become stronger together, more resilient in the face of adversity, and more grounded in your sense of self. That foundation allows you to chase dreams without fear of losing yourself, because you know that whatever happens outside, you have a safe place to return to. Success in marriage and success in career are not separate. They feed each other, and when both are nurtured, life becomes not only successful but deeply meaningful.